Okay. What's up, people? So today is Sunday, and it is time for another episode of the AniMates. Unfortunately, we've run into a series of weird circumstances where not everyone can make it today, so we're going to be working with me. Sedona thinks she found a key to Atlantis, and she went off to investigate that. Elise is out sick with a chest burst, an alien chest burster, but don't worry, doctors hit her with a shovel. She should be completely fine later on. Henry is trying to knit the world's longest scarf. And Alec is test piloting a new airship he made out of an old septic tank and a bounce house. So, you just stuck with me today. But that's okay, because we're going to be talking about something fun today. If any of you have ever caught my stream on previous sessions and things like that, I've been working on the sequence for a little while. And we're going to be talking about one of the shots. So this is what I've been working on. And it has grown. My god, it just keeps inching longer and longer. So if you caught me the last time I animated this on the AniMates, it was a... We had completely ripped apart the last half because it wasn't reading well, and we're kind of cleaning stuff up. But today we're going to be focusing on this shot right here. This shot specifically. Now, why are we going to focus on this? Well, because after we tore apart the last half, I kept playing through this over and over again, and I realized that this shot was not quite reading well. And I did not know why. So I went over to one of my coworkers, one of my fellow animators. His name's Asher, and the guy's a fantastic individual. He has experience working in feature film and cinematics and game production, all sorts of different aspects. And so I went up to him and I said, Asher, help me out here. I want this character to have a lot of weight and a lot of impact to him, but I can't seem to get it exactly right. I mean, the motion kind of feels fine, but he doesn't have that oomph, that fear, that just total dominance that I was expecting. And Asher told me, well, it's not... Your biggest two issues here are posing and staging. And so we sat down and he pointed out a whole bunch of different things. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about staging and how that can really have a huge effect on your animation. And if you're not... and a lot of people aren't terribly familiar with how staging works. It's one of those principles of animation that really doesn't get talked about too much. It's kind of right up there with solid posing and appeal. Mostly because we don't really have too much control of how much appeal our characters have when we do 3D animation. But staging is one of those things we can control. And if you're working on, working as a student, or if you're working on a cycle, or if you're working on gameplay animation, staging is not something you have a lot of control over. But if you're working on like a cinematic piece, or you're trying to get into feature film and things like that, staging has a huge effect on how your animation plays off. And if you're not familiar with what staging is, it's just a kind of a fancy word for composition. Or in other words, the way things are oriented in the screen and how they kind of interact with each other. So, to give you an example, let's look at the previous shot I have here, or the first 4 shots. So, to give you an example of staging. So right here, I start the sequence with nothing in screen. It gives the character or the audience a chance to kind of register what's happening, or register what the environment looks like and stuff like that. And then we introduce our first element, which is our protagonist. And he's super low to the ground. Second shot, we have our second character, the antagonist. We're introducing a new element into the sequence. And he is much higher in screen. We'll explain all that in a bit here. And then we have the character who is much larger in screen, runs off, and then goes from being a very low character to a very high character. Cool. So hopefully all that registers. But now let's talk about why. Why did I choose to put these characters where they are, and what's the whole point of it? So if you have first of all, I'll start with the beginning aspects of it. So if you're familiar with composition at all, you're probably familiar with the rule of thirds. Anything that's worth focusing on is probably going to be on one side of the third or the other side of the third, and then same thing with top and bottom. When you lay it out in kind of like a grid form, we can actually draw this out. Boop, boop. Kind of laid out in a grid form like this. And typically what you want to see is your focal points being on one of these 4 intersections right here. Or if they're dominating a lot of the screen, you want them to follow along like one of these thirds, kind of like this. So it was the same thing here. Ooh, can I actually delete that? Totally forgot. Yeah, cool. Excellent. So, if you look throughout the sequence, yeah, I definitely have him over on this left third. He's definitely on this right third. And then he's still on the left third here. And then he climbs up this left third and then eventually ends up in center screen to kind of rub it in our face. But another thing I'm considering here is the idea of the negotiation of power. Now, if you... Hold on. I'm going to bring out a book real quick. I realize I'm probably going to be referencing a whole lot of stuff here. So, if you... There's a book called Framed Ink. Fantastic piece, goes really in depth into the composition of sequential art and stuff like that. But they really hammer on this concept of the idea of the negotiation of power. Who has control over the situation at any given moment during a sequence? So, when I go through these shots, I try to consider who has control at this particular moment. So at the beginning of the sequence, we have this character that jumps in, and he's obviously not in control. He's getting beaten down, he just got knocked back, he's got nothing going on. So when I set up the composition, I set up his posing and everything, I tried to make it so it looked like he had no power. So he's in the bottom left corner of the screen, there's so much extra real estate all around him to make him look small and insignificant. And then I have his posing sit down, so he's on all, like on a three-point landing. And I know three-point landings are a little passe and all that fun stuff, but one, I wanted to do it, so shut up. And then, but two, it does make him look like he doesn't have any confidence, like he doesn't have any power. And he's got this grim determination about him, but there's nothing really powerful about him. Whereas if you go to the next shot, we're telling a different story suddenly. So Tiny is much bigger in frame. He's focal point, his face is up in the top right third, his body is dominating a lot more of the real estate, and as he goes through this roar, he's taking up a good size of the screen. So it's clear that he has the control of this situation. But, as we go to the next shot, suddenly the situation has started to change. Gregory's taking up a lot more of the shot, we're focusing more on his facial expression, he's taking up more than half the screen here, and he's sitting up a little higher. So we're starting to see, maybe he doesn't have control of the situation yet, but he is starting to gain confidence, and he is trying to do something to kind of regain that control. And then when we go into the fourth shot here, things definitely changed. We have a clear transition of him from where he used to start, low and down, when even like at the beginning of the shot, his body is still bent over, his energy is still pretty low, but then when he climbs up this pole and does this massive jump, suddenly everything changes about this. Everything. He's way up higher on the screen, he's dominating this frame, by the time we finish the shot, he absolutely controls everything. So that is a total shift of the power in that kind of situation. And then, throughout the rest of the sequence, it kind of splits and goes in a different direction. But that's just kind of like one example of the way staging can help here. But even with all this, I still felt like Tiny wasn't really maximized out here. He really, like, as much as I tried to emphasize the amount of power he has, it doesn't quite read out. So when I went up to Asher and I was like, hey, why isn't this working? He's like, well, the biggest issue here is your posing and your staging. And so today, we're going to try to plus this animation, to use staging, to use posing, to really emphasize the fact that yes, I am in control of this situation. Yes, I am the dominating, threatening, terrifying force that's about to eat your babies. So, so we gotta figure this out. So I got my scene open here, and yesterday I was working on a different shot, so we'll set up for something different here. I'm gonna jump up to the front here. I'm gonna take our adventurer, and I'm gonna hide him because he's not gonna be seen for this part. Cool. See what the beginning of this shot is. Floating spear. The most powerful of all situations. Here's the beginning of that shot. And then it ends on frame 172. So I'm not seeing any updates in chat right now. I don't know what that's about. If somebody could ping me real quick to see if it's actually working, I would appreciate that. Trying to do stuff on the fly here. Trying a whole bunch of new stuff. Let's see. Is it this one? Let's see, look at this. Hey, there it goes. Cool. I was getting super concerned that I was ignoring everyone. I did not want to do that. So, thank you for chatting. Alright, so the first thing my colleague brought up was you have this character here, and you have him roaring, but he still looks very contained within this space. And the reason I did that, like, just learning from films in the past and other forms of composition and stuff like that, like, whenever you have this exchange between two characters without any kind of physical contact, like, you see it a lot in conversations and stuff, usually you want to designate them to one side or the other, just so you don't confuse your audience. So, in this case, you have one character on the left side, one character on the right side, and you kind of go back and forth so people have that kind of like established perspective. But what he was telling me is you don't need to do that. Hey everybody. Look at everyone all active now. Warms my heart. So he said you don't really need to have your character stuck in this right half of the screen. You can have him cross this middle line barrier to really kind of get into the person's face. So, and there's a couple things that are kind of limiting about his pose here. Like he's got this bent knee and he's got this bent leg, but we can really kind of hyperextend that and get him lunging really far up into screen. And then on top of that, we could also shift our camera a little bit around, a little bit further in to really focus on this part of his face here. Like really get that on that left third and show him as this dominating, frightening character. So I'm kind of curious about how I should do this. My first instinct is to use animation layers, but my animation layers, not always the greatest. Let's see. Let's see if we can do it. I'll select all the Tiny's controls. We'll create a new layer. Call it Tiny's layer. And we'll give it a shot. Because I don't want to sit here and try to rebuild my arcs, rebuild everything. If I can do an animation layer and just do two additive keys and stuff, I think that'd be fine. What is the monster rig you're using? It looks pretty neat. Okay. So. This is a character called Tiny. If you've been in animation for a while, you might recognize this guy because he came out like back in 2008. 2008. This is a rig that's 10 years old, and I picked up this rig specifically because I was looking for a character with this type of body, and something with a face rig and some minor controls, but a lot has happened in 10 years. So this rig is actually pretty outdated. And the big bragging point about him in the past was he had a full muscle system, like a dynamic muscle system. And so he's a very, very resource-heavy character, which is not fantastic for me. Like this is an example of his facial rig. If you've been in animation school in the last 2-3 years, you probably haven't even seen a setup like this. But it is a very limited way of dealing with faces. The left and right are ways to control the left or right side of the face, and then the up or down is like the extreme of whatever pose you're doing. For instance, like he just has a control called emotion. It's not smile, it's not frown, it's just, hey, what is the emotion of your character? And then you have a very limited aspect of what he can and can't do. So this was... I would call this a poor choice on my part for doing this sequence. I would not use this character again. There's so many other better options out there that have so many more features on them. Do the teeth move? Yeah, the teeth do move, actually. They have just little translate sliders somewhere. Whoop. Open your mouth, we're gonna play dentist. Yeah, so his teeth can come out and stuff. Which is how I was able to cheat some of my other shots. But yeah, he's not a terribly in-depth character. Principal design, help artists organize compositions so they communicate effectively, and then principles unit. Yep. I remember learning that in like an intro to art class. And a lot of those things I still don't 100% understand. Like I keep learning these things as I go, and whenever you have to deal with cameras or camera compositions or cinematography, you have to learn these things over and over again. Yeah, exactly. It's Art 101. Okay. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to try to get him out of this right third. And I'm going to try to break this middle line and get him over here too. So we're going to do that by just pushing the ever-living shit out of his pose. So starting about here, I'm going to take all his controls. Take all his tiny controls, set a 0 key, which is going to be kind of like our neutral state. And then, when he gets to this point here, we're going to try to get him really extended outward. So we're going to take his hips, bring it out forward like this, set a key, and then we're going to manipulate this foot to really get as every square inch we possibly can. So we're going to be putting a lot of his weight. Do we even have the option to... We have the option to raise the heel, but I don't think we can actually pivot on the instep. Nope, those are all toes. Those are all curls. See, look at that. Curl attributes. Who the hell uses curl attributes anymore? Nobody. Actually, I'm sure they exist on some rigs, but it's not the best way to approach a situation. So I'm going to angle this foot up. Put it right on the instep here. And then... what are we going to do? We're going to do a raise heel. Really trying to get that out. And like I said, really trying to get as much distance as we can on this tiny, tiny leg. Tiniest tiny leg. Now, I think we can actually take this and push it even further. Really trying to go as far as we can without hyperextending anything. Yeah, we can use that control. A bit like this. Probably even do something like this. Boop. Well, hey, Harmon. We were just talking about you. This shot's gotta look familiar, right? Oh, you're gonna shoot me some reference? Shit. Well, that is okay. We can get this light turned around a little bit. It's okay. We probably won't be able to address all your notes within the next hour or so. But I can at least try some things. So get that, and oh man, we're actually gonna have to twist these hips a lot more. And then get these moving in the opposite direction. Which hopefully doesn't gimbal the shit out of everything. Boop.
Where are they? I can't see them!
What is this? 158. I'm gonna mute that real quick. Apes vs. Humans. Oh yeah, that does relate. Cool. I'm gonna put you up to the side because I'm definitely gonna use you later. But right now, just trying to touch up on that first note. Trying to get him really pushed out, working on that pose. And then right here. And we can even turn the layer on and off just to see the difference. So already, even with just those two keys, yeah, he does have a very gorilla feel, and that was kind of what I was trying to capture in my original reference, but I did a pretty poor job, I'm gonna say. There's a timestamp. Seen some animation talk where the animator talked about how messed up that shot was. Last minute changes in budget cuts, he had to cheat a lot of it. Yeah, that's the same with any production. Yeah, that's more the feel I was going for. Just tossing helmets around. Alright. So let's see what else we can do. Maybe I bring him down further. Probably push this body even further then. Don't break the leg. Don't break the leg. Probably gonna split this guy right down the middle here. Okay. So that's one thing we can do. Now let's see what we can do with our camera. So I had him start out pretty far. Looking at this shot right here, we could probably push in a lot tighter. So let's just say we're focusing on just this frame. We could probably do something like something more like that. And we're doing some compositions over here too. So like for instance, this arch is kind of brushing right up against his face. His shoulder's kind of in line with this pillar here. There's way too many coincidences. So I'm gonna see if I can't move shit around and break that up a bit. There we go. That puts him a little more into the foreground. And let's just try that. And obviously it's gonna be completely different than the previous keys, so. And actually, let's do, I hate to do it. Should I? Yeah, I think I will. I have 2 frames on this camera, that's weird. So we didn't really do too much here, so I'm just going to delete these frames out. And then I'm going to reestablish this position, see how that looks. Did I carry over? Should have. Oh, shoot. Nope, I see. Boop, boop. By the way, I've had the biggest issue with dealing with animation layers in Maya recently. Specifically whenever you try to add like a constraint or something to them, it really messes things up. Okay. So let's delete that. Let's just look at these 6 values here. And we should see this is weird, like it should show keys here, but it's not. And I think it's because I have it on a different animation layer. Nope, never mind. I see what the issue is. It's on this animation layer for some reason. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that out, because that's not supposed to be anything. Oops! No, I deleted the layer. There we go. Okay, now we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all this out. And now, we should be able to carry this over. Yeah, better. Now the question is, should I start with the camera coming in and then have it come out? Like as if the audience was retreating from it? Or the viewer was retreating from it? Or should I have it slowly kind of truck in? Oh, I forgot to change out the focal length too. The focal length didn't change. Interesting. There we go. Here we go in? Okay, easy enough. So let's bring that back to the first frame. We'll bring this over to 135, and then when we cut into here, we can bring this in. And I'm kind of... I don't really want to move the camera side to side. I feel like that's a very awkward move. And that's a little early. So we could do something, wait till about here. 144. And then make sure we track the camera along with it. Oops. Track the camera, and then as he comes in, probably have this happen a little sooner. And then make sure this frame happens throughout. We can do like a slow truck in. And there's some other aspects here that needs to change still, so I'm not too worried about him coming out of frame. But That still doesn't feel right. Like, ideally, I'd want him sitting... sitting kind of like this. Like, I want the camera looking up at him to make him feel a lot more intimidating. So maybe something like that would be better. I think, can you get on the end before it feels bad? That's an excellent question. Like, I like the idea of his head being so big in frame here, but I feel like we're cutting out too much. I mean, not like that's terribly important. We're not gaining any information by looking at his legs and his hands and stuff. Like, we're really trying to focus on his head and shoulders, just like his mass in general. Oops. You come back here. And I kind of want to cut off the top, too. Just to show that he can't even be contained within frame. But the scary thing is, this is a very big camera move for such a short amount of time. And let me kind of fix this issue real quick. We have it so his head like constantly moves up here, but as Mr. Harmon pointed out, that doesn't really help with the whole feel. So we got to get him kind of staying down throughout the roar. Looks like we don't have too much in the torso, so wow, did I seriously do all this in the back? Shame on me. But it does just kind of look like a moving hold. So let's just keep this down here for now. Boop. How about from the front? Yeah, a little bit too much to the side. Yeah, I figured the first camera could be staged tighter. But I wanted to get my last camera in first. Okay, so now it should hold more on that. Look at it run away. Come on, camera, you guys stay where you need to be. And we can do just a little bit of tracking here. And your head is not supposed to be going up either. Now let's just focus on the head for now. Or the neck? Let's do the neck first. Wow, I did not do much with the neck. How much of a difference is that? He was already jutted out, that's why. Oh my. Yeah, we still got him creeping up. Stop creeping, you creeper. Hey, thank you for the host. A little bit of an upswing there. Take a look at our curve. Yeah. We can keep this much flatter. Still got some kind of lift going on here. It looks like it's mostly in this curve here. So let's just see what that's doing. Okay. Better. I wouldn't mind seeing a little motion going on there. Okay, cool. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and delete out previous keys again. Let's just take a look at it from here. Alright, so on the first shot, or the first part of the shot, we can have this pulled out a little bit. Have him looking up taller, or higher. Kind of drag that out over to 135, I think the frame was. You can track it to 144, where we're just kind of looking up higher. As it takes that big motion. Better. Like if you look at this shot down here versus what we had before, he's already much bigger in frame. There's still some other issues. For instance, like in the posing, like his arm doesn't feel like it feels like it's receding too much. We're too flat to camera here. And I feel like he's just not encompassing a lot of this space still. But you can start to see how staging plays an effect on the way the animation reads. So let's see what else. What else can we do? How can we push this further? Can we go even lower with it? I feel like it's too much. Hey, Zella. Yeah, it's totally the windmill person. Oh, that's true. That's right, we put a windmill on Tiny's face at one point. Because I couldn't stand his fucking facial rig. And I think we can probably push in tighter as we go to the end of the shot. Yeah, I'm already liking this better. And see, this already. Like, if you look at this frame compared to what it was before, this guy already feels more significant than this guy here. Like, he feels so much smaller in this composition than he does in this one. Like, his arm is outside of the composition, which means it's an open composition. Oops, sorry about that. But we could probably... I don't know. Like, I'm glad we kind of get rid of some of the real estate up here, but I'm wondering if we can push that even further. Like, obviously you want your focal point to be kind of up in this upper right third here, but... I don't know. Let's see what we can do. Let's experiment. Let's see what we can break. Boop, boop. So he comes back here. Yeah, you're right. The pose is the issue. But let's get the rest of the camera animation doing what it needs to do. So we'll just do some minor tracking. Wait, did I translate that? I did. Did not want to translate that. Just wanted to rotate. And he's getting a little bigger here. A little sudden there. I feel like it translated again. Why did it do that? No, because it actually did translate. Okay. I see what's happening. Boop. And then this one too has to be in the same spot. There we go. Okay, now let's look at this guy's pose a little bit. We'll go into our animation layer. And there's some other notes to address here, but let's just focus on this frame right here. So let's just see if we can really nail this pose. So at this point, like these arm controls, these wrist controls, we'll set a 0 key there. I have a hotkey for that at work. I don't have it here. So let's break that up. I don't like the idea of it being parallel with the pillar, but we got to make sure it's not flat to screen. Let's see if we can bring this out a bit. Does that work? You need some nice Philips hues in your room to get some nice colors and disco feels. Oh my god, I could totally see that. I could put a disco ball right there. I have like little ghosts on the ceiling too. Get some interesting light effects. But we also need to get some LED light strips in here. Maybe a subwoofer. Maybe a fog machine. Ooh, that'd be fun. Do a stream with a fog machine on. Okay. We can break this up a little bit more. What about you? What can we do with you? Nope, wrong control. Okay, this one definitely needs to come back. It's also a little too straight out. Like it... You could make the argument that that's okay. Especially if he's like lunging in one direction, like his arm shooting straight back like that could kind of help with it, but if he's going to be holding on to this pose, I want to make sure he's got something interesting going on. And I don't want to twist it so far that his arm would actually break. You know, like something like that. Maybe... We're not going to see that bend, are we? And this looks too casual. Maybe do something like that. Just make sure this comes back. Gotta be careful because we were really bunching up before, where everything was kind of like a clusterfuck in the middle. Maybe do something like that. I see this line being formed by the shoulder cape, and I am just not into it. I don't want to form a tangency with the jaw and that line. What can we push? What can we break? What can we tweak? Do you have hip controls? He does. Yeah, a little bit. He's all like, get out! Yeah, there we go. Get that corset on him. Not much translation control there. I mean, we have to use the cog to do it. I think we need to keep it up like that, because I like the line it's forming with the legs. Like, if we flatten it out too much, it squares them off and kind of removes some of that energy. So we want to keep it something like that. Of course, the poor guy's skinning. We're getting some major clipping in the crotch. I had a nickel every time that happened. Middle school, am I right? Alright, so... Oh, that's interesting. I feel like his head is getting lost. Why your shoulders gotta be so huge, bro? Oh, you know what? Now might be a good time to figure out if I can actually scale this guy. Now, he doesn't have any scale controls, but there's a lot of things you can scale. For instance, this. So, I bet if I just scaled this... Nope, it just scales his teeth. Awesome. Fantastic. Oh, his joints aren't even on this one, is it? There's gotta be something I can scale here. That's the control. So that means his joints are on a different part? Nah. I won't bore you guys with that right now. Alright. And there's a lot I can do with his face, too. But our face controls are very limited. Yeah, it still feels right. I feel like he's screaming in the wrong direction now. Let's try that instead. And we're going to have to add some kind of jitter or texture there to emphasize the yell or the scream. But right now it does not sell. Boop. Are there controls for the cheeks and throat to add some vibration? No, there is not. I think he does have a cheek control. But like I said, these controls are very... Oh yeah, so that's the blowout. It's not even like the cheek shift that we're used to seeing. Yeah, see his shoulder starts to disappear right there. does this arm zero out or something? Where are you going, arm? Oh yeah, it's just constantly moving backwards. So we probably don't need that. I like having the shoulder out here. Or do I? What would happen if I did this? That definitely gives his head more weight. Let's try it. But then we lose... Maybe use the lip controllers? Yeah, we don't have too much option there either. Like I said, his whole face rig is really fucking limited. Like, we got the upper lower lip movement. We have a mouth up and down. So we could do something there, just like a little blah blah blah. But it controls both lips. And then something like that. And then we have a lip sync control, so we might be able to do some kind of warble or something. But those are getting into like the finer points. So we're just trying to focus on big muscle areas right now. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Let's do a comparison here. That versus something like that. Ah, fuck. I think I like seeing his shoulder. He just looks bigger. But then I see that tangency. Not gonna do it, man. I'm not gonna do it. But that also seems to limit his motion too. Maybe we can cheat it. Maybe we could do something like that. Bring the camera over slightly. So now it's not even an issue. I don't know, we keep moving that camera over. Is that a challenge you assigned to yourself? Oh my god, it's like a really... Nope, it was just a bad decision. That's all it was. I was looking for a character with this kind of body type. He was the first one I found, and I went with it. I did not realize until like halfway through my blocking phase what I'd gotten myself into. Alright. It still feels... we could do more. And I don't know if it's because... I almost wonder if we can do something like that. And then bring it up like this. Would that help? What do you guys think? Yeah? Okay, let's work with this. Look at the translates down. Push it to the limit. Limit. Past the point of no return. And VOD goes mute. just because I sang those two lines. That probably messes with a lot. Nope, you need to stay down. And that one can continue to push in, that's fine. This one is stuff, I don't know. Let's just duplicate that key and just do a slight push in. But then right here, yeah, I still feel like his pose is too limited. Like, I wonder if we should get him up higher. You know what I think is bothering me? I think he's too center frame. He's not deviating to one side or the other. So, yeah, he starts off on the right. I wonder if we can just nudge him over something like that, you know? The abs make it look stronger, hell yeah. That's why I stood him up. We gotta get those full abs going. He's trying to take a picture for his Tinder profile. Yeah, see, I think that works a little bit better. So now we actually see the crossover from the right side of the screen to the left side. So you can see it's he's really trying to get in your face. But the question is then, because like I said before, that's kind of an awkward camera move, having it move. Well, I know, I didn't really see it too much. We can push it further. We can make them faster, stronger. We have the technology. Get up in there. This might help that little clusterfuck in the center there too. Alright, so just comparison again. Oh, I have annotation turned on. So, this is what we had initially. This is our new frame. And I was kind of turned off by this idea before, but the other convenient thing about this is on the next shot. Oops, that's not it. On the next shot, like this one here, he's already on the left side. So the fact that Tiny's focus is on the left side doesn't really break up the viewer's attention too much, which is nice. But I'm still not feeling it. Every little tweak makes it a little bit better, but I'm still not quite there. No. Do something like that. Yeah. I didn't like the idea that the arm was forming like this perfect up and down line. Gotta give it depth. If you're gonna have a depth composition, then you're gonna have to have depth posing too. Otherwise, it flattens everything out and defeats the whole purpose. Where are you going? Where do you want this hand? Huh? Huh? I scratch your butt? Put it back here? Huh? Hmm. Now, there's a weird balance issue here. Like, if something about these shoulders, the fact that they're straight across, that these arms look so balanced, they almost have like the same weight to them, and it looks really weird. And I'm wondering if that's something we can fix in the torso? Like, just change the orientation? It does get him away from that line, which is nice. Seeing a difference now between these two. Like, that shoulder is obviously lower than this one. These arms will come with me, though. What's up, arms? Look at this hand. His hand's kind of flattened out. Yeah, kind of like that. A bit of that action. Play some things. I'm gonna try to break it. Okay. Just out of nowhere, let me try this. I'm not going to key anything. I'm just going to... Like, what if we went different with it? Again, not committing to anything here, just trying something new. Palms back? Yeah, we could do that. It doesn't work too well for this pose specifically, but when we snap it back, we can. It does make it feel a lot more top-heavy. If we do this, I feel like since we have the shoulder down on one side, this needs to be lower than the other one. Nope, too symmetrical. Nope. Nope. Yeah, this feels almost like a growth. It doesn't really have any kind of biological sense to it. So, I guess let's stick with that. But, yeah, we can definitely do palms back here. But I feel like if we do that, we gotta do this more. Something like that, maybe? Yeah, I'm kind of liking the line it forms towards his face. And then we got that one lower than this arm, but maybe we can tweak this arm a little bit more. Roll the hand. I'm not feeling it. Nope, something funky. Well, the elbows will be more bent and the hands close to his core. So you're talking about... something like that. Oh, I see. Gotcha. It's kind of like that. Yeah, we'd have to play with the fingers a little bit, but that could work. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And this one. The shape looks kind of ambiguous right now. Like, we'd have to play with the fingers. It's a little too even. Maybe we roll it out this way, just so we see a different amount of hand on this side than the opposite side. Yeah, it looks kind of ambiguous. I really hate it when fingers do this. Have this kind of setup. Oh my god. I look in front of his stomach. It'll tighten the energy of his body and put more focus on the face. 180 and X. Oh, there's no equations there. So you want to do something like this? Oh, that actually does help. Shit. Yeah, that actually works a lot better. And we can do the same thing on this side too. Oh, it's not going to affect much, but... yeah, I like that better. So now we got an issue with his torso here. We got this weird kind of shape here. It's like blah, 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 blah. And that could just be, you know, a skinning issue, but I think it's something we have to try to fix. Like, it looks like this bottom controller really doesn't have too much going on, but so maybe we can redistribute this angle. So he doesn't have such a weird torso issue. Nope. Maybe not as bent. Yeah, kinda. I also like the way that's kind of just glancing that leg. Maybe if we took it to extremes. Yeah, actually I think that's better. Because that way we still have the angles going more towards the inside. But running into that pillar again. I wonder if I should just break that pillar. You know, just like chunk it out or something. But that does, like, we still have the weight of the shoulder, which is nice, and we still have the lines pointing in, so... But we don't have this massive shape out here doing weird shit, which removes focus from the face. Let me tweak it a little bit. How far can we push it? Too perfect. Yeah, this is already... this is already feeling a lot better. And just to note, this is all just focusing on staging. We're trying to maximize our composition to get the most of this character out of him. Just seeing how things play to camera. God, I still feel like we could push the camera further. Like, I almost want to dig a hole. But that's a problem for future Dave. Not for today. Oh, it's already 2 o'clock. Holy crap. We've already gone beyond our schedule here. Screen right forearm could be pointing towards the body. Yeah, let's try it. And we'd have to completely twist the arm around. Now it looks like he's skydiving. Or doing that, what do you call that? That type of skiing where you do like this massive jump. Is it just called the long jump? I'm gonna be very sad if it's just called the long jump. And this. No, he's way too rounded off now. I still like these lines that he has forming here. But maybe just from out here we could do... something like this, and this arm should actually be higher than the other one. Get this arm. Just a hand out there. Straight burst curve. Right. Alright, so I'm going to save this out. Because I have not saved yet. Shame on me. Tiny. Not so tiny. But let's call it that comparison again. So this is what he was in the previous example. This is our new one down here. I'd say that one's a lot stronger than what we got going on here. Back arm is still messing with me. I keep looking at it just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's a little too busy back there. And if we had lighting, if we actually had lighting in the scene, this wouldn't be an issue. Like, we could shadow the shit out of that or something. Like, it wouldn't have as much energy or as much weight as it does right now. But since I'm only play blasting, I shot myself in the foot. Just a little bit higher. Yeah, something like that. Can I do anything else with his mouth? No, that's too fine a detail. But still, this right here, this is bothering the hell out of me. I'm gonna do something about that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take Tiny's pose here. I'm gonna set a key, and then I'm just gonna go one frame over and see if I can't fix this ab issue, or this torso issue. And if I can, awesome, I'll delete the previous key and I'll just copy this over. Because this is an additive layer, so it's not going to fuck up anything. But if it doesn't, all I have to do is delete this key and life will be grand. Side here. It's coming down a little too much. So let's see the distribution on this side. Yeah, it looks like the upper torso is handling most of this. Look at that, he's even got that lunge more. But see, that's the issue too. Like this line here that's forming on his torso is kind of fighting everything else. Like I know he's like hugely triangle shaped, but the fact that this line is pointing in the opposite direction, or kind of angling in the opposite direction of everything else, fights the composition a little bit. So I'm wondering what we can do to fix that. Can we push it further? How far can I take this without destroying his beautiful, beautiful abs? Abs. Hips need to be more screen right. Okay. Is this something I can do with? Nah, it doesn't really help us too much, does it? Yeah, so we were able to reduce that mass a little bit. So the angle is not so severe. But it did some other stuff too, like it's messing with the shoulder on this side. Which, honestly, I kind of like this. I like the... shit. I don't know. It feels too squared off now. We could fix that though. That is not unfixable. Just top control. You could just take that and just go maybe like this. So this stream is about staging. we are just trying to fix a staging issue for one of my shots. So we're trying to fix this shot. I felt like this shot was very underwhelming for as massive and intimidating as a character as this is. So we're trying to use staging to kind of push and emphasize his threat level. Actually, yeah, that's better. We could probably get him a little higher. So we could probably reduce this extreme amount of bend he's got going on here. Okay, yeah, that's true. And we can't really see that balance anyway, so let's do that. And then can we just do something as simple as... Oh, fuck yeah. That's that good stuff. Oh, shimmy those hips, you dirty troll. Could you give me an overview on what staging is? I did a little bit at the beginning of the stream, but staging is just another way of saying composition. How the elements in the scene are oriented around each other and what's like what has focus, what doesn't, that kind of a thing. So the example I gave was in my first 4 shots of this sequence. And there's a little annotation there that's gonna tick me off. Okay, so, and the biggest thing I was talking about was the negotiation of power. Who has power over the situation in that current shot? So, basics of composition are simple things like rule of thirds, where you have everything divided up into thirds like this. And then these 4 points are usually where you want to put your focus at. So you can see in this first shot, Greg is off in the bottom left, and then, thank you. In the next shot, Tiny's head is in the upper right. Oh, there's an N2 key in there. Oh, that's nice. I'm so happy I got this. But with the whole negotiation of power thing, so if you look at the book Framed Ink, they go really into detail about this. It's a fantastic read, meant for more people who are like intermediate level in composition, but really outstanding. So with the whole negotiation of power, so when this shot first starts, we have Gregory. He's introduced into the scene, and I immediately put him in the bottom left. The lower a person is in composition, the less powerful they feel. I also have him in a pose. Yeah, Framed Ink. I'm gonna type it in. And it's written by Marcos Mateu Mistre. So I have him in the bottom left corner, or the bottom left third of this screen. There's so much wasted real estate in this screen, in the shot, making him feel much smaller than he really is. But also his pose is defeated. His power center is way low. He's on his hands and knees because he's really has none of the power here. In the next shot, we look at Tiny, who is standing much larger. He's in the top third of the screen, or top right third of the screen. He's standing far more erect. His power center is way up in his chest, way up, like up high here. So you can feel he has a lot more control over this situation. Not enough, that's why we're redoing him, but but then, as you go into the next shot, you realize things are starting to change. Gregory's suddenly a lot bigger in screen, his head's a lot higher, he's starting to get more confident, he's come up with a solution, and he's going to try to shift things more into his favor. So, the composition-wise, he's a lot different. So, and then as he goes into the next shot, you can see the transition of power happening. So he starts off the shot with his body more curled in, he's a lot more contained, and he's lower in the screen, but then as he runs up this pole, he starts to get larger in frame, he gets higher in frame, all the way up into the very end, when he suddenly has control of this situation. He is dominating this frame now, he is all power. And then, so now he feels like he's shifted things more to his favor. But that is all examples of staging, using composition to emphasize what your character is thinking and feeling so the audience can pick up on it easier. What's another good example? Yeah, I have a whole kind of breakdown for this too, but since I had to rip apart this entire last half of the sequence, it's kind of a poor example at this moment. Oh, hi Tiny, how you doing? But I realized that when looking at the second shot here, that Tiny isn't as intimidating as he could have been. So I went up and I talked to Mr. Harmon here about how I could emphasize that, how I can make him look bigger, stronger, better, and that kind of thing. And so he gave me a whole bunch of notes on how to make him way more intimidating. And you can see the difference already between this shot and the end of this shot. This guy looks way more intimidating than this guy right now. Simply because of staging and posing. But still, staging, a lot to do with it. If you want to learn more about staging and composition in general, there's actually, I pulled aside a couple of resources I've been using here. What is it? Is this the one? Okay, yeah. The Visual Story by Bruce Block. Fantastic introduction to composition and cinematography in general. Just, it teaches you all the different elements, like how things can be balanced, establishing focus, establishing tension, and that kind of a thing. Really a fantastic read. Another one I've been using is Directing the Story, which is a book about cinematography. It's a book about storyboarding, but it encompasses a lot of the aspects of composition that is going to be useful for staging and animation. And the way they set it up is really fantastic. Like, it's actually done as two stories within each other. So they have one story that's all storyboarded out. It's like kind of like the main focus of the whole deal. But then within this storyboarded story, they do another story inside of it to teach you about different aspects of storyboarding and composition. And they make a really strong argument in here for only showing what you need to see in your shots, and it has helped out so much. In production, if a scene is a scene director more or less going to be in charge of staging, or do the animators have some amount of creative leeway in terms of how a scene is made? So, in cinematics, they usually let us try first. They can come up with, like, in the past what I've done is they're like, okay, here's a sequence, these are the things we want to focus on, go after it. And they let you just kind of play around and have fun with it for a while, and then you present it to them, and they're like, okay, I see what you're doing here, I like this, I don't like this, fix this, we're trying to go for more of this feeling, and then they have you change things. It's usually not such a huge, terrible change. So typically in cinematics, animators have more control. In film and stuff, I guarantee it's way different. I guarantee, like, if you were doing, whatchamacallit, like feature film and stuff like that, there will be somebody that's dedicated to setting up your cameras. You can make the camera have more perspective distortion to make him more menacing. You mean like changing the focal length? I try to avoid that as much as possible. Like, that's fine if you want to create disorientation. Yes, pre-pro and layouts have the biggest call on the camera. Which, yeah, I guarantee in upcoming, any future project I work on, I guarantee it's going to be a lot more pre-production focused. Okay, so I like this pose better. So I'm going to go on my additive layer here, delete the previous frame, and then we're just going to tuck that guy back in there. And this guy feels like it's a waste. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to do some major animation tweaks here, but really just trying to hit this pose to just establish how fucking terrifying this guy is supposed to be. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'll copy this. Copy that. And obviously we have some other issues going on here on the base layer, but I think I'm just going to copy it over just to save time. And that camera hits a wall. Yeah, you can actually see it almost like bounces. Which means I probably did something and then forgot to correct it in the last key. So we can keep going in like this, we can keep raising up like this. A little bit of an issue on the chin, actually. Like the way this kind of flows together too perfectly. Too much of a coincidence. So I think we can fix that by just... Go back up to the additive layer here. Oops. That's something in the base animation. Fun. I'm going to take that, set a key there. I'm going to paste it over here. That should, yeah, there we go. Okay, that breaks that up a little bit better. I just didn't want that shoulder flowing so perfectly into the chin. What's wrong with changing the focal length? There's a time and a place to do that. But if you do it... Like, the whole point of changing the focal length is it just kind of distorts the screen and causes a little, like, it throws the viewer off. But I try to avoid it as a compositional element, because it feels like too much of a cheat to me. But we could try doing it a little bit. So he's got a focal length of... and he has an angle of view of 40 right now. We could probably actually up it to 35 or 30. Nope, probably too much. What about just 38? Like, really don't want to go crazy with it. And then we can take this camera, ease it up there. And then the focal length is going to be back to normal there, so we can just do 38. That's already a huge difference there. Yeah, like that's as far as I would push it. I wouldn't want to do too much with it. Because of his background and stuff is shifting and warping at the same time as he's trying to do his thing, like it's gonna mess with the viewer too much, I think. Okay. So I kind of want to playlist this out now, just to see how we look. Yeah, typically when we set up shots and stuff, like we pick a focal length for that shot specifically, and then we don't touch it for the rest of the shot. And then when we go across the cut, then we can change our focal length. But typically it's not something where you just kind of like shift it in and out a lot. Let's see. Does it happen? Yeah, it does. Just not often. Shit, that might be too much. Yes, I would much prefer to do a dolly over a zoom. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not into it. Like, I see the background elements, they suddenly, like, shift, like, they get bigger and stuff, and I'm not into it. But, that does make a strong argument for a bigger dolly. Yeah, I like that better. So we got that out of it, good. Okay, so let's just playlist this out. Now, it's not going to look pretty. I'm going to tell you that right now, because we did all our changes on an animation layer, and I think that's just 2 keys. So we're going to see some popping, some weirdness, and that kind of stuff. But the composition and the camera move should be a lot better than what we had. Do it! But after we take a look at this, I think we're going to wrap it up for the day, because I still have to do my taxes. Super fun adult stuff. But when I play Bless This Out, you should be able to see the difference in how much different staging can affect your animation. It still feels small. That's the other part of it. You're never happy with what you do. Alright, so let's just see. Yeah, got to work on my transitions a little bit on the camera. But this guy already feels fucking way more massive than he did in the previous. And I think, if I'm not too crazy here, I think there should be a way to do a side-by-side comparison. What is it? And timeline. We could do, I think it's these two. I'm gonna drag them in there. Blah. Nope. Okay. So here's the old. Oh, I forgot to turn on the camera shake. Thank you for reminding me. So I do have camera shake. I put it on a layer, but I took it off specifically so we could focus on critique notes and stuff like that. But yeah, let's just do a replay blast real quick. Get that shake back in. And hopefully the shake still works with whatever I have my camera still set at. So many books. So many. Now we get some issues with timing here. Like I feel like his reveal gesture could be faster. And obviously we need to add some kind of texture to the shoulders and head because he suddenly becomes very still when he hits that pose. So we need to kind of add some variance to that, get that like kind of thing going on. But let's add the other one back in here just so we can see it. Nope, wrong shot. You get the hell out of there. Yes. Okay. So, here's the old one. Yep, doing his thing. Okay, kind of scary. Yep, a little bit. And here's the new one. Easily twice as intimidating as before. That is the power of staging. So, that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you guys learned something through this. But we're going to be back on, I think, next week? I can't remember what we're doing. I think we have an interview planned, but I can't remember with who. But you can catch us next week at 1 p.m., same times every week. And I hope to see you all there. So if you're still sticking around, thank you so much for stopping by. We'll catch you next time. Talk to you later.